Welcome to Bake to the Future. We bring you a fresh take on the latest trends and issues impacting the baking sector through exclusive insights and conversations. Brought to you by the American Bakers Association.
Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Haley Blumenreich.
And I'm Katie Jewell.
And on this episode, we are talking about the intersection of AI, technology, and sustainability for the baking industry. Here to help us break it all down and bring his expertise is Liran Akavia, founder and COO of Seebo. Welcome.
Hello, Eiley. Hello, Katie. Thank you very much for having me in this exciting podcast.
So we look forward to getting into the meat of the podcast and learning more about you and Seebo, but we always like to start the show with a really hard question, and that is, what is your favorite baked good?
Probably a croissant. I like the fluff and I like the chocolate.
Okay, so it's a chocolate croissant is your go-to.
Definitely.
All right. Awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about Seebo. We know that Seebo is an ABA member, but I think that you guys are fairly new. So I actually don't know a whole lot about you. So give us a little taste of what you guys do and what you do there.
So a few words about myself. My name is Liran Akavia. I'm one of the co-founders and the COO of Seebo. Seebo is a predictive quality and waste solution. Our expertise is the baking goods industry, and we help manufacturers all around the world, from Nestle to Barilla to Mondelez to General Mills and many, many others, to reduce waste and run more efficient production process. We do that by using process-based artificial intelligence, which is a technology that we invented.
So from your perspective, what is sustainability then? It is that like food waste, it's energy, like kind of, can you frame it up for us?
So when we look at sustainability in the world of baked goods and food manufacturing, we look on three major areas. One would be the field, the place where we grow the raw ingredients. The second would be the manufacturing process. And the third would be home, the food that we buy, we don't use, and we throw to the bin. Making an impact on the third area, which is the private homes, is a huge task. You need to educate millions and billions of homeowners on how to be more sustainable. So this is a huge opportunity from one hand and a huge investment from the other hand. While when you look at the manufacturing process, if you look at the overall opportunity, is a bit more modest. But when you look at the potential to optimize is huge. Actually, when you optimize a specific production line, you make a significant effect, because from a single point, you can actually make a real big impact on food waste, and therefore be more sustainable. It's an equivalent of educating millions of households. So when we look at that, we see that the major contribution on food waste, on efficiency of using the raw ingredients and the things that we get from the nature, if we focus on production lines and we simply help them to be more efficient and run better, we are creating a more sustainable society.
And I'm kind of trying to picture what this looks like in the actual facilities. Do you have an example of what it actually looks like to reduce waste?
Yes, certainly. Let's take a look on traditional or common baking production line. We make.
Why don't we? Yeah, let's use your croissants as an example. So you've got.
All right. So let's look at the croissants. So let's say I'm a croissant maker. My interest is to produce products that are as perfect as possible. I would like them to have the right size, the right shape, the right color, the right relationship between filling and dough. And if I'm unable to do it, I'm simply rejecting products. So let's say my product is too big or too small or too dark or too bright or has too little filling or too much filling. I would reject it at the end of the line in many cases, and it will not go to the market. So this is a big waste situation. Another thing is the ability to stabilize and make more and make products that are more similar to each other. It doesn't make a lot of sense to release to the market products that has big variability. With this big variability, we create more waste. And if we are able to create products that are more close to the spec that we originally had from marketing or R&D, we are delivering with the raw material that we get, we are delivering better and actually more products to the consumers.
So is it actually done with are there kind of sensors along this percent line that detect these changes, or, you have certain aspects and specific things that you, let's say, I guess you plug it into a computer and you say, all right, computer, this is what we want this product to look like at a certain point in the process. And then how does that actually work?
So let's just for a moment put Seebo aside. Every baking goods manufacturer has machines, the oven, the mixer, and each one of those machines has PLC. The PLC is a controller located in the machine that actually controls the machine. The PLC of the oven knows what is the temperature right now and knows what is the speed of conveyor. There is critical data in those PLCs. This data could be extracted in many areas. It's already extracted. In other areas, it's simply a matter of doing that. So through the data of the PLCs, we can learn a lot about the process. Other two pieces of equipment that are important is checkware and camera. In many baked goods lines, they are already installed. And if they are not installed, it's a matter of doing that. So imagine that I have a camera that sees the size, shape, color, positioning, and other parameters of the product. I have checkware that can measure the weight, and I have the process data. If you add on top of that raw material data, maybe the certificate that I get from my flour supplier, or from my butter supplier, or from my chocolate supplier, if I can digitize it all and then push it into the Seebo algorithm that also understands the process, the algorithm will be able to connect the dots and explain why process inefficiencies are happening. I'll give you an example. Let's take my croissant, and let's imagine that it's too dark. The algorithm will be able to explain why it happens. Why this specific croissant is too dark comparing to the ones we had an hour ago, or comparing to the spec. What should I do? Should I add more water to the mix, or should I reduce the oven temperature? Or maybe both, by the way.
Okay, so then it says we need to add more water or whatever. And so what you're saying is then the AI would then tell the process, right? Or would it tell a person, we need to kind of toggle a nozzle at the front of the process here? Or does it kind of happen automatically, or it just kind of depends on how the bakery is set up?
So Seebo, our default position or the default recommendation for a bakery would be a decision support tool. Seebo is performing automated root cause analysis, and this automated root cause analysis goes to the process engineer, or to the process expert, or to the master baker. So the Seebo solution would recommend to the master baker what should be the optimal process parameters in order to run the most efficient line. Based on that, the master baker is able to build proactive alerts. Those are alerts that are going to the operators and helping the operators to prevent the losses before they happen. Some of the bakeries, especially the more advanced ones, are choosing to integrate the Seebo solution directly to the PLC and close the loop. So the artificial intelligence is controlling the line automatically. But this is a more advanced stage, and this is usually comes in a much more mature position. Usually the best way to start is to let an expert see the recommendations of the algorithm and then deploy it on the production line.
Would you say, in general, working with the people in the facilities who we know are, the heart of the baking industry and are, what makes it all happen, how do you see kind of this everyone working together, the technology and the people?
So the state of the industry today is that most bakery lines wouldn't have an historian, a data collector from the process, and a checkware and a camera on each of their production lines. And that's completely fine. That's okay. Let me tell you a quick story about one of the leaders in the industry, one of the European plants. We met their VP, and we started a discussion by speaking about the business need. What is it the thing that they are looking to optimize? And it was from day one, it was pretty clear that there is a big optimization potential in this specific bakery. But they had no data. They had no cameras yet, no checkwares yet, and no data coming from the production line. But since the business case was so important for the organization, they understood that if they can reduce the waste, it's not only about saving raw materials, they can also increase sales. The business case was so important that the company had the budget and the attention to go through a project that helped them to collect the data. So together with Seebo, we identified what data they need. They brought a third party. They collected the data from the production line. They installed a camera, installed a checkware, and then we could run. And now going back to your question, Hailey, once we are running, the Seebo solution is providing the relevant insight, relevant knowledge, the automated root cause analysis to the master baker. The master baker will review that and will say, okay, I understand that this is what should be done. Based on that, the master baker will define alerts that the operators will see continuously 24 hours on their production lines. And they will be able to prevent the losses before they happen using those alerts. So this is the flow from no data to full adoption of artificial intelligence on the production line.
And is that kind of the starting point of a lot of your clients or folks you see in the industry, or are there varying levels of integration of AI onto a production line that you see?
So as far as we know, other than the teams that are working already with us, most of the industry is in an early stage of, I would not even say early stage of AI, of early stage of data. Most of the lines in the industry has no data yet.
That's interesting. And that's specifically, I guess, in the bakery. So because I'm imagining that a lot of the commodities have, tons of data, and that's, so that kind of first step of the process, the field part, that probably is full of data, full of AI. So at least there's that data kind of coming into the plants. And so it appears then, and like, is there a difference then between, and from what you've seen from production lines and facilities in Europe compared to the United States or Asia, or kind of like from that more global perspective, or, are you primarily in Europe, or kind of what's, how do different areas of the world compare?
So I would go just for a moment back to the previous question, and then I'll answer this question because they're related. You asked earlier about the starting point. The starting point, in my opinion, the best starting point is the business case, where there is a big optimization potential. Usually there is a justification to extract the data and bring Seebo on board. And now for the question that you just asked, if we see differences between territories. So yes, we do see differences between territories, and we see differences between product categories. And those things are very much aligned with the business need. And I would explain. Some territories are very concerned about the quality. And we see that in many European countries, and we see that a lot in the States. The consumers has big demand. They know what they are looking for. They know what they are buying. There is good competition between the companies, and it's important for the manufacturer to release the best product that they can do in the market. Other things that we see is tough competition. Every little percentage is important to reduce the cost and be more competitive. And the third thing we see is growing categories. In some areas, we see that donuts or tortillas or other products are simply growing categories. There is more demand than what you can supply, and every percentage you can improve on the production line, it actually go to the bottom line because you're selling more. So those differences really affect the markets. Some markets are less sensitive to quality. Some markets can actually reuse the product they reject. Some markets, the labor is not so expensive. So if you are a little bit working too hard on the product or you are less efficient, it doesn't really matter. So we see that the demand and the need is coming from different markets and different categories that has the need to run more efficiently to win the competition.
And so I know, you're talking business cases and all of that. And one of our big discussions that the industry is having, certainly in the United States, and I can imagine worldwide, is supply chain issues that are happening and looming shortages of ingredients and everything. And that also, I think, kind of all plays back to sustainability. And it seems like integrating these sorts of technologies to cause less waste for products that you're getting less of or that are becoming more expensive, like that is the business case, right? Or that's kind of like the start of the business case.
Yes, that is the business case, and this is in some cases is the start, some cases is the end of the business case. If you need to run a more efficient supply chain, and if you have the customer looking for the right product right now, and you would like to be better than your competitor, you need to have a production command of producing 10,000 units, and you want to have all of them ideally on the right size and the right shape and the right color and deliver them to the customer. And if you speak about Katie, one of the things that we see recently is that due to the big consumer demand, the number of SKUs is growing. So actually companies that used to run, let's say 5 different croissants on the production line, now they would have different consumers that one would like to have croissant in this size or taste, and the other one would like to have croissant in the other size or shape. And if you want to win the competition, you go to your R&D team and tell them, okay, guys, bring me the latest product that has the most fantastic taste and the most fantastic shape. And then you go to your production team and tell them, look, guys, this is the recent thing that we are going to deliver to the market. Can you please deliver that for me? Now, the production team has a new challenge. They need to run their process on a new product. They need to deliver this product in the best efficiency that they can. And we have seen companies that are running Seebo, running process-based artificial intelligence on their production lines, are able to much quicker adopt to new recipes and new production processes, and are able to be more agile, more flexible, and handle larger number of SKUs on the production lines, and therefore deliver to the market the needs that they have.
I'd imagine that it would kind of speed up the R&D process because it helps you realize different points of the process that need to be adjusted to get that product that you're looking for.
One of the things that we hear recently is if you speak about specific market conditions and speak specifically about supply chains, at the moment it's difficult to get the right people to work for you. It's difficult to recruit talented bakers. It's difficult to recruit the right team members. And companies are looking for ability to do 2 things. First, with less people to run an excellent production line. The way we like to speak about it is with an ordinary team to run an extraordinary production line. This is one thing that we hear from companies. And the other thing that we hear from companies is to have remote assistant deeply on the process, to have at the HQ or maybe a sister plant, to have an expert. And the expert is able through through an online communication to look at what is happening on the process of the production line and to give recommendation and distribute the knowledge. So the fact that it's difficult to get the right people right now, for example, in the United States, I had yesterday a conversation with one of the large manufacturers exactly about that. And what we hear from them is that they are now looking for those kind of solutions exactly to overcome those challenges.
And I was thinking, as you were talking about companies creating more SKUs, during the pandemic, we heard about a lot of companies actually getting rid of those and consolidating to produce faster and just the same product over and over again to get product out. What kind of things have you seen during the pandemic with your work in all different countries? What have you seen going on?
And then especially as we're kind of coming out of the pandemic. So it sounds like there was that contraction, right? And now what you're saying is, we used to only have 3 types of croissant during the pandemic, but now we're going crazy and we're putting in like raspberry croissants or something.
So that's completely true. I'll share with you one example about my consumer behavior. When I'm at the office, we have a coffee machine and I drink a coffee from the machine. Once I'm at home, I would drink a coffee from my machine at home and I would use capsules. So just the fact that I moved from the office to the home increased my capsule consumption dramatically. And this is just an easy example that I'm giving here. So the fact that we have the pandemic and it's unfortunately not yet over, that people are going to the office and it's not very stable, this movement of the place that we are and the way that it affects the way we buy groceries, it's dramatically affect the demand that we have for different products. So what we really saw in the pandemic is some production line that unfortunately has less demand. I'll give you examples. Buns that are going for fast food like McDonald's and others. Those restaurants were closed. Those production lines were sadly not producing. From the other hand, we saw huge demand for products that you would consume as a consumer from home. And those production lines couldn't provide the market need. We had many manufacturers contacting us and telling us, look guys, we need to increase capacity by 5%. There is no way to buy a new production line within the next 6 months. No one will deliver that. So the only way to increase the capacity is by running a more efficient product. And many companies adopted the Seebo solution during the pandemic just to have this fast increase of capacity. We are hearing about companies that, for example, just recently bought a production line. The production line will be delivered in 18 months, but they are adopting the Seebo solution to have more efficient production on the 18 months. And if we already speak about new production lines, there are also companies that are buying a new production line and are adopting Seebo from day one. And the goal is time to stability. Usually when you buy a new production line, it takes time to stabilize. It takes time till you know the process and you know the machine and you're able to run all the recipes in the most efficient way. If you have an artificial intelligence system that is efficiently analyzing the production line, you would actually get quicker time to stability. So you will be able to monetize your new line within a shorter time.
And we've been talking mostly about baking industry companies, but I'm wondering why baking, and could this work for other manufacturing industries too?
Yes, definitely. Seebo is today serving many different industries. Even outside of the food and beverage, we serve chemical manufacturers, we serve cement manufacturers, steel manufacturers, and glass manufacturers. And it sounds a bit spread out, but actually there is something common about all those manufacturers. They are all running complex, continuous manufacturing processes. And this is where the Seebo solution excels.
But then you mentioned how you're, kind of specialized in baking. And so you have all these manufacturing processes that your company serves, and they're all in, kind of like the building, and, chemicals, I think are a different thing, but you mentioned glass and concrete. Why then baking? Why not just stick with, building or helping the companies that build the things that build the buildings?
So it's less about buildings. Seebo has unique characteristics of its abilities. At the end of the day, we are able to understand the process itself, the relationships between the assets, the flow of material, the way the raw material is being converted into a product. And if you take, for example, the glass industry, in the beginning you have sand, at the end of the line you have glass. If you take the baking goods industry, in the beginning you have flour and other raw materials, and at the end of the line you have bread. Those are all raw materials that were converted through space and time into something else. And no one of the steps is individually responsible for a good or a bad product. It's the process. If I will optimize only the oven, nothing guarantees that I will get a better product. What I should optimize is the entire process. And this is exactly the challenge and the unique thing that Seebo does. The challenge is that It's not enough to control a specific part of the process or to be expert in the oven. I need actually to understand many different machines. I need to understand the relationship between them. I need to understand how the moisture level of the flour is related to the water that I put in the mix, which is related to the speed of conveyor of the oven and the temperature of the oven, and many, many other parameters. And actually all those lines has not a single KPI. All the lines has multi-KPIs. For example, the quality, the throughput, the yield, the energy consumption, the waste. So as a process expert or master baker, I'm not interested in a single KPI optimization. I'm interested in a global optimization. I would like to have not only the best quality, because if I want the best quality, I can produce 2 products an hour and I will have them in a very good quality. I'm interested in high throughput and good quality with low cost per ton. So the fact that I have so many parameters that are all connected together against many KPIs, it makes the process very complex, and it makes the life of the team in the plant complex. Since we are able to digest big amount of data against a well-defined target, a well-defined result, we can go back to those production teams and give them recommendations and explain why the inefficiencies are happening. And this is the thin line that connects between the baking goods industry and the steel industry, the glass industry, cement industry, and chemical industry.
That's all such great information, and I certainly am learning a lot, and I never thought that we could connect so well with the cement and glass industries, so that's so fascinating. I think that we can start wrapping up for today. Do you have anything else you want to add before we hang up?
No, that it was a real pleasure for me to meet you today and to have this beautiful professional discussion. And thank you very much for the time.
Thanks so much for coming on. We really enjoyed talking with you. And I want to let everyone know that if you liked this episode, I recommend listening to our last 2 episodes on commodity volatility and the urgent supply chain disruptions facing the baking industry. And let us know what you thought of the show by emailing hello@americanbakers.org or leave us a voicemail at baketothefuture.org. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, or Ghana.
Bake to the Future is brought to you by the American Bakers Association in partnership with Human Factor. To hear upcoming and past episodes, go to baketothefuture.org. Bake to the Future is produced by Haley Blumenreich. Audio engineer is Blake Alton. And A Slice of the Action is written by the American Bakers Association's Government Relations Team.